So as you were watching the last video, I'm sure you were saying, wait, Professor Crosby, you forgot to commit that to GitHub. And you'd be absolutely correct. So here I am inside of GitHub Desktop. It says, oh yeah, this new rotator.cs file was added, and also the meta file, which is information about the rotator script that Unity needs. Both of those files were created and added and need to be put into the repository. So I will give this a summary of add rotator script and commit that to master, which is good. And I'm going to come back here. I'm going to finish my prefab now. So I'm going to turn off my stats. Going to come back to play. Okay, so inside of my assets, I've got my cube here. They wanted me to make a new folder and call it prefabs. And by dragging my cube down into prefabs, I now have an item. I'm going to rename that thing as a pickup. And I am going to delete my cube from the hierarchy. I'm going to put my pickup in there instead. It's at 0.50. Okay, it's just what I need it to be. I'm now going to go ahead and create the material that they had mentioned, just so that we can make this pop a little bit more. My material, unfortunately, I managed to put into my prefab folder, so I'm going to bring that over here to materials. I'm going to change the albedo to be some kind of yellow. I'm going to drag that onto my prefab. I'm going to go to my material. My material is named new material. I'm going to change that to be pickup material. I'm going to drag that onto the pickup object. My pickup object is now yellow. But right now, if I were to drag another pickup into the scene, it would be white because I only made that application to one of the prefabs in the scene. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell all pickups that this change should be applied to all, and now this other pickup becomes yellow. So that's good. Now I'm going to come and look down on my scene from up top. And I'm going to change my let me go ahead. I'm going to make this window a little bit bigger. I'm going to try to make this window a little bit bigger. My shortcut for making that panel large isn't running. So I'm just going to try to give myself some space over here. And let me hide my directional light, which is right on top of my pickup. And I'm going to change this to global position, and I'm going to go to isometric so I can just drag this a little bit more easily. That was my directional light. I want to drag my pickup. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to duplicate it. 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 Duplicate it. Duplicate it. Duplicate it. Duplicate it. And duplicate it. So these are probably not great in terms of positioning, but if I go back from isometric view and maybe focus out just a little bit, If I hit play, they should all start tumbling simultaneously, which is what I want. Now, I also made a slight error in that I didn't make a container game object, so you can see that because I have all of these cubes, things are getting very cluttered over here. So I can go game object, create empty, call this empty game object pickups, and I want this empty game object to be at 0, 0, 0. So I will do that. And then I can take each pickup object and drag those down onto pickups so that they can collapse down and be hidden. So now all my prefabs are under this empty game object. And I can still get to any one of them that I need to. So that's a nifty little trick. And there they are, and because they are under a common parent, I can also turn all of them off at once, which can also be useful. Okay, so let me hop over to GitHub Desktop. See that we have some new materials and some prefabs and stuff. So pick up prefab and material. And then in my description, set up 12 prefabs in the window, in the scene, for later gameplay testing. Commit that to master. One last thing, I did notice that I don't have any walls. I don't know how I managed to do this without setting up my walls. So let me come back to a somewhat of a perspective view, and then I'm going to go to my hand tool and drag that into the middle. And let me go ahead and I'm going to make an empty game object and call it walls. And let me make a 3D game object cube, and I'm going to reset that so that it's at the origin, because we can see it's hanging out here in space right now. Okay, and I'm going to bring that thing up 0.5 so we can see in the game window, if I were to look at this from the side, that the cube is now there. I'm going to use my scale tool. I'm going to make that cube pretty long. I'm going to set that cube actually to be 20 units. And I am going to move that up to the edge right here. And I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to move that one to this near edge down there. And then I'm going to take both of these walls, so I shift select so both of those are there. I'm going to duplicate those. And I am going to, can I rotate these? I can. Very nice. And I will rotate these exactly 90 degrees. And now if I come in, I've got some walls in there. I'm going to put my directional light back on. So I've got some walls around my play field now. And I'm going to take each of these long cubes and I'm going to name them uniformly as wall. And I'm going to drag them onto the wall's empty game object so that those can collapse down too. Let me save my scene and come back over to GitHub Desktop. And we have a couple of changes here. Added walls. Commit that to master. And off we go.